Hello, how you doing? I'm Craig Parkinson. You are listening to the Two Shot Podcast. Sit yourself down, pop the kettle on. We're going to have a nice old chat. Who's it with this week? I'm going to tell you right now. How the devil are you? It's Thursday. It's episode 82 of the podcast. And we go to London and we meet the actor, comedian, and absolutely top fella, Tom Davis. I think you're going to really love it. More of that in a second. I'm just out for a walk, so I thought I'd combine the two things, get it ticked off my list. I can't stop in on a day like this, kind of on my day off. So, what is first on the agenda? Well, a massive thank you to you for all the lovely messages about last week's episode with Amy Booth Steele. She's incredible, and I was really thrilled that she came on. And it seems like a lot of you were too, so thanks for that. If you want to get in touch, we're on all the social media platforms at Two Shot Pod, and we are twoshotpod@gmail.com, because that is where a lot of you have been sending your addresses. Why? Because I've got the big list and I'm sat down tomorrow, I hope it rains, and I'm going to pop all the badges into envelopes. I'm going to send them out to you, so they'll be with you in a few days. Obviously, if you're overseas, it's going to take a little bit longer, but they will be there. One more thing, also being there, will you be there on April 14th at the BFI? We are going to have a Two Shot Podcast live with the legend that is Mr. Richard E. Grant. I can't wait. And there's some tickets available, so get on the BFI website and come down and join the conversation, because the last sort of 15-20 minutes I'm going to throw questions out to the audience and you can ask Richard anything. Well, within reason, you know, keep it sensible. What else? Yes, that's it. Let's crack on. Episode 82, Tom Davis. Now, you are going to know Tom from all sorts of stuff. You'll know him from the brilliant Murder In Successville. It was on BBC. Action Team, which was on ITV. You may have seen him in Paddington 2. I mean, you'll get to know a lot more about Tom from this episode, but I've known Tom for years, and he is a very, very good man, and it was a pleasure to sit down and talk with him. I'm really thrilled he came on. We've been talking about it for ages, so we made the time, and this is it. This is episode 82 of the Two Shot Podcast with the brilliant Tom Davis. And we start off talking about comedy. Enjoy, and I'll see you at the end.
But that's the craft of it. And I think it's a really misconstrued thing of, like, when you're watching, like, people use Curb as a massive, a point of reference of going, like, oh yeah, well, he's quite dislikable, but you know why. You see, and also you see the frailties of his character. You see, like, and he always loses. Yeah. Whereas, like, if you're going to do a downtrodden character who's a bit pathetic and a bit of a loser, but in the end he wins, like some of us do have him, so to speak, or something like that, then you've got a sort of, like, oh, that's the journey. Every part of, like, crafting something is A to B, right? So you can start low and end up high, or you start high and end up low. That's just literally the most binary, smallest way that we write, or that we could come in to read a script and go, well, I start here and I end there. Everything that we do. If you start somewhere and then just end in the same place, and he learns nothing at all, then what are you? Do you know what I mean? What are you even watching as a viewer? And yeah, I mean, I literally found it the most, knowing as well of the talent that's out there of young up and coming comedians. I was like, wow. And also we feel like we're in a really, you know, Derry Girls, Partridge, Fleabag, you know, Afterlife. I enjoy. You know, you've got quite a lot of these shows that, you know, Jamie Demetriou doing Staff. You've got shows that feel like constantly, we're making great stuff, and we should be proud of it. And
Staff's another example, a great example in that.
Chewing gum, but also we're looking inside different cultures and different people and different way. And that we have an obligation to do that through comedy. And it is a weird thing that I'll talk about later, which sort of, I think that the alignment of, when I was growing up, things like Blackadder, which was such high concept, was all the rage. And then drama was very, very much like, oh, this is, you know, a kitchen sink, Mike Leigh, this is what we do. Now, drama's now become flight of fancy. You can go anywhere with it. But comedy now, this country, all of that stuff, it has to sort of be set in a reality that people can kind of jump on board with.
And empathise with.
Yeah, they want to know who they are within the scripts of things.
That's another good example. This country, I mean, those two characters,
man.
I mean, what complete... if you saw them out in the street, you go, what horrible people. But because we know the frailty and the brittleness of them, we kind of love them.
I think Daisy's incredible. I think Charlie Cooper is the most underrated comedian in this country. I think he is. How he's not won BAFTAs. How he's like he to me. I don't think I can't even think of another comedy actor that I've watched. And number one, just been in awe of. He's just incredible. Every part of his physicality, his performance, how he can do empathy, how he can do massive like comedy set pieces. He's just genuinely. I
just think he's a brilliant actor. Full stop.
Yeah, he's incredible, and you know, and humble, a lovely guy. But yeah. So my thing with it feels with something like that we're talking about. It feels, what are we doing? What is this? And also, you know, so when we started writing King Gary, the whole thing with King Gary is like, how do you make something that's BBC One, but then it feels accessible, but also has an edge to it?
Yeah. Like,
you know, for me to write that as a show has to feel like it comes from the place that I've grown up. I mean, yeah, I don't know how this. So when that came up as well, we got really amazing reviews, but people started using the reviews like negative stuff like chav, and I was like, we never ever. Chav is a derogatory term for any working class or underclass of people that is like.
And it was never referenced in the show anyway.
Yeah, no, but we never even said a council house.
I know.
And everyone assumed it was from Essex, and it was just ambiguous of like, is it Essex? Is it Hertfordshire? Is it Surrey? Is it Sussex? Is it Kent? Which is just suburbia, London suburbia. People are just a little bit out coming in, but people just always. And I've had that since I started this job. Everyone just assumes I'm from Essex because I talk, and I'm not. I'm not. Okay, well,
let's talk about that. Let's go back. Let's talk about where you're from.
I'm from. Sort of Croydon would be the sort of main big town that you'd know, but it's just outside that, a little place like Sutton, which is where Phone Shop was done, and it's
funny enough. I was going to say about Tom Bennett's from Croydon.
Yeah, well, there's quite a few of us. Yeah. Tom Baston's from there,
right?
Alan Mustafa, who's People Just Do Nothing, another great show. So there's quite a few of us actually, weirdly, that come. But it's a sort of Neil Maskell as well, and Kieran Hawkes, Matt Morgan. They're from sort of Dartford, but it's from that sort of world that feels a million miles away from creativity. So it feels like what we're doing now and where I see myself now is like So to put in context, I was still think scaffolding when I first met you.
Yeah.
So after Morgana show, much, do you know what I mean? So it's like my that existence to then jump from there to here felt like, no, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I've no qualifications.
Because you're so away from that world.
Yeah.
That literally is another world.
It's literally a way of, and people. I got rinsed so badly when I said I was going to do stand-up comedy.
What, from who?
People I work with. People would just literally...
On the site?
Yeah, on the site, in the pubs. People just was like, what are you thinking, mate? You've got it all right. Yeah, and I will say as well that it's a weird thing of like, when you come from, I was a scaffolder, I was a hog carrier, and I did a number of things. I should add that I was a bad scaffolder. I was a really cool one. I was still a labourer at like 28. I was a pretty woeful, but when I first got into television, everyone assumed that like I'd had this really rough, horrible, life was, you're on the breadline. You think, well, no, actually, I was 16. I'd left school when Blair got in, and Britain was like, London was the fastest growing city in the world. It was like, couldn't move. I was earning half decent money. And obviously recessions came and we all got dicks bitten off. But the point is, it's sort of to have the people just found it a weird thought that anyone coming from the environment that we came from
could go and do something like that.
And you sort of. I think I've talked to a number of people, but I think so when I say I sometimes talk to people and they go, I had no real training, and I'm like, and then you find out, you was at drama school as a kid, or I studied there, or number one, I'd never done anything like that. At a school play, I'd be a tree. Like literally, one school play, my job was to hold up from some of the set, and I dropped it.
Who can do that? We'll trust Tom with that. He can do that.
He's a big lad. I mean, 6'2". Even at school, people just assumed that I was like a sort of dad that was hanging around with. I looked about 25. So I had none of that, and also I didn't really know anyone in the industry, so it's quite a closed off thing.
What was the initial thought like when you were on the site that you went, yeah, I'm going to try some stand up?
I think it was I went to see Mickey Flanagan. He was doing a thing at the backyard club there when Lee Hurst had it, and I'd grown up around going to see a lot of the sort of like, working men's clubs, Mike Reid, Epping, for all that sort of stuff, and even though I'd never sort of agree with a lot of their content, stand up had sort of become something that I think I didn't necessarily identify with. I didn't identify with some of the, like Lee Evans I'd love, but some of it felt quite middle class and sort of.
Well, you look at Lee Evans, and that goes back to sort of Howard Lloyd, Buster Keaton stuff.
And also so accessible across like every sort of generation, and that's what. And we'll get onto this, I guess, a bit later, but how when you sort of start comedy, you want to be cool and you want to be edgy. You realise how, I'll listen to people all day, they slag off Mrs. Brown's Boys, but I'll say, go and write an episode of it. Go and write something that can get different generations sitting together on a Christmas.
And also the thing is, Brendan O'Carroll and all them lot were bumming around all the clubs in Ireland for years and years and years.
And it's the thing that you have to show some respect to it. But so I'd seen Mickey Flanagan, and that was the first time I think I'd ever seen. And I remember him, and then Ricky Grover and Joe Brand, and I'd sort of discovered those guys who were sort of in and around comedy. But
Mickey kind of was speaking to you.
Yeah, Mickey. Yeah. I just sat there watching Mickey in awe and thinking, this is exactly what my life really. It's sort of pretty much. Aside from him going to university and that sort of side of it, it was that sort of that part. Yeah, I could accessibly it sort of spoke to me. So then I sort of thought, well, I think I was in a position where I'd done something I'd hated. I'd never really found a calling in life.
Had you tried?
Yeah, I'd chefed for a bit. I went to the Connaught and I did a year chefing, and I thought, like, from 16, this can't be my life. I was like, I've been on building sites, or most of them. I worked for the RSPB for like a summer and got thrown out for fraud. For like, there was a sweepstake. Or whatever it was, first person who saw, it was like a bluefinch come over the White Cliffs of Dover or something, and whoever phoned in first got this 250 quid. And I phoned my pal. I was like, look, the first phone call we get, I'll text you straight after it, and you call in, and then I'll make out as you, and we'll just go out on a piss for the night. And then they found out, because the person who'd seen it was going, no one could, I was the only person there, no one else could have seen that bluefin. So I got sacked off for nicking money off the charity, but I hate birds anyway. But yeah, so I tried other things. Not that I thought working for the RSPB would be long. I mean, that would have been the only thing worse than working for fucking as a scaffolder. But I'd sort of like got to a point where I was like, wow, this I've done this for so long, and I'd go through, as silly as it sounds, like I did qualifications as a scaffolder, and then just thought people would just go, your art doesn't seem to be into this, and you'd be like, mate, it's enough that I'm building my body to bring in it. Like I'm a fucking art, you know what I mean? It's like having to fucking lug stuff up, and I wasn't, I wasn't a particularly good genuinely, like I wasn't going to ever earn really good money as a scaffolder, because I just didn't care enough about it. So I literally, my whole job title was like, if there was no work scaffolding, I'd go and do hod carrying. So I'll be lugging bricks around. Right. And I thought, at some point, I'm 6'7", I'm already getting a backpack. It's not a long-term thing in being a guy who carries like heavy goods. I mean, next stop was removals, and then probably working as a man in a van, like being a guy with, like, not even being the driver, just a guy with the, as Mickey says, that's, in his thing. So
one of those weightlifters belts on, sort of round your middle. It's going,
it's the sad thing. We had a sofa delivered the other week, and there's a guy, he just had no. I was like, oh yeah, bring it through. I was really excited about the sofa, and he was just so like, oh yeah, well, you're just going to come through the back doors and all that, sighing. And he had a weightlifter belt on.
They do?
Yeah. And he just seen, and I just sort of looked at him and I thought, oh fucking hell, like I remember that feeling. And so I just thought, so I think it was an era of probably what was depression. Like now looking back at it, what was like I just was lost. I had nothing. And my sister was quite academic. My mum and dad were worried about me, I think, because I think their worry was that I drank. My lifestyle was very much, and it had been all of my 20s, and it's like we talk about alcohol now and whatever, and I don't sort of drink anywhere near like that. But my lifestyle was pretty much get up, you go for a fry up in the morning, you bust your ass until 4 o'clock, and then you'd be in a pub, and that would be at least 6 days a week, probably 7, and that was just the culture that I was from and the world that I was from, and then you sort of thought, fucking hell, man, how much longer how many more times can I come down the pub and listen to the same shit,
the same stories,
by the same guys, and also you talk to the older guys, and I work with some incredible people. I doubt they'll listen, but like George Beasley and these amazing scaffolders, great stories and great men. I loved them, but you thought, fuck, like they care about this. Like, imagine being 60 and thinking, I've wasted. I wouldn't have made 60. I don't,
not with that lifestyle.
No,
anyway.
no. With my cholesterol as it is, Craig. You know what I mean? I'm on a plant-based diet. I'm still fucking trying to keep it under control. And it was weirdly, I don't know if you've read Pamela Stevenson wrote a book with Billy Connolly.
I haven't, but I know what you mean.
It's an incredible book, but there's a passage out of it, and I read it. My mum brought it for me for Christmas, and there was a bit in it, and I loved it. I was obsessed with Billy Connolly because, again, he's from a very similar sort of similar background, I guess, in the fact that he went to work on the shipyards. That was just what you did when you came from there, and then because I'd still be on site, I'd be doing voices, taking the piss out of people, singing songs, and I sometimes people, I'd not do any work all day. People would just keep me around for morale. I'll tell you. So I read this. I read this book, Billy Connolly, and there's this passage in it, and he's talking to an old guy who works on the shipyards, and he says, "When are you going to go professional? Is it like as a musician?" And Billy Connolly's like, "I'll probably do it next year. I'm going to go push a bit next year." And he's like, "You'll never do it because next year will be the year after and the year after and the year after, and you'll just put it off.
Yeah.
And you need to do it now because there's nothing worse than being an old man sitting in a place like this thinking what could have been." And I sort of read that and I thought, wow, that's... And, when as silly as it sounds, you read something and you think... And it sort of carried that with me. And so I just booked gigs. But the interesting thing was how bad a scaffolder I was. The first year I did Edinburgh, I just said to the guy I was working with, look, I'm going to go and do Edinburgh. I'll do a month up there, see how it goes. And he was like, I'll try and cover for you. And I came back a month later, and no one on the firm knew I was that bad. No one knew I was missing. I was like, I went to see like the boss, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to give this stand-up thing a go. Obviously I've been up in Edinburgh, and it's gone pretty well actually. He's like, when were you in Edinburgh? And I was like, oh, I was there. Like, very sorry. Well, it's like, it's been a great month. We've got more done. It was like literally jeopardising the fucking everyone there with how bad a scaffolder I was. So and it was, but it was a jump of, I sort of, and weirdly, when I first, because you were quite a big part of my career and people I knew, because I didn't know anyone in the industry at all. I had no friend. It was a sort of, I'd done Morgana show, and then from there I met Neil Maskell. I'd met Neil a bit before, and then we lived together, and then everyone that I got to know was pretty much felt. And I look now and I think, fucking hell, what an amazing group of people. But, like, those people felt like the only people in the industry that felt like, well, I come from these people. They understand me. That first night I met you, we were, I think, together for 2 days.
Yeah. Well, it's a knock-on effect, isn't it? You meet one person, you go, oh, that's like part of my kindred spirit, that bit tribey, that... Oh, and it knocks on, it's a domino effect. You start to ripple.
Because I look at it now and think, wow, through that little... crowd at that time, and people were on their up and whatever, but it was like yourself and Martin Compston, Vicky McClure, Joe Hartley, Neil Maskell, Kieran Hawkes, Matt Morgan, like Danny Mays. It felt like, wow, these, everyone then was like on their way up, but also you felt like, wow, there is. I was really, I carried a bit of a chip on my shoulder, so, and especially in comedy, in the sense that I was like, there doesn't feel to be the people that come from where I come from, and I'd make an assumption I wouldn't like someone because they would be posh. I'd be like, I'm not going to like them because and that was my problem. I carried around that baggage with me, and then you feel like I wrote a thing with a guy called Will Smith, who's an incredible writer and a brilliant stand-up, and we spent 2 years together writing a thing for Channel 4, and I just fell in love with him, and I was like, wow, we come from such different places, but everything we love is the same. We like the same comedy, we like the same...
But that's the connection, isn't it? Really, you know, you get older and you go, it doesn't really matter where we're from. That chippiness that... I know a lot of people... I used to have that as well. You go, no, I won't like that person. Definitely not. And then you go, well, you connect over the shared love of a certain thing.
Yeah.
And that's where your relationship grows from. So regardless of where you're from, fuck all that doesn't matter.
No. Because you also realise that actually you move into a dynamic that's different, like the world that the things that you have in common with people, it doesn't matter. Like, as silly as it sounds, like you're all trying to get parts, you're all trying to get pilots made, you're trying to write stuff, you're trying to be creative.
And be supportive of other people.
It's the thing that I love the most now, and actually it's the thing that I've taken away from social media, is that, like, it's so easy to be critical. There's a guy called Jack Bales who works at Channel 4 now, and he's like one of the most important people in my, like, a great guy. He's an important person in my career, and he was like always trying to look for the positives in stuff. Like, and as silly as that sounds, it's so easy to watch a show. And like, I know we talked about a certain show earlier, and you know, sometimes they don't have many redeeming features. But even if you're sitting there watching, going, oh, I don't know what this is for me. Why isn't it for you? Why don't you like it? So you have to have an argument, and don't put it on Twitter and say this is awful, this is why I feel. No. Because it hurts. I don't care what anyone says, and I've had this conversation with yourself, like Romesh is one of my closest friends, and you sit and chat to him, and I've had it. I had it with, we did Murder In Successville. We were very fortunate. It didn't ever feel like, because it was such a small cult show, but it didn't ever feel like people liked it. If they didn't like it, if they weren't down with it, they wouldn't watch it. And then when Action Team came out, it was like, it did okay and it was all right, but it felt like for the first time, people, because, we just won a BAFTA. It was the first show after that. It wasn't Murder In Successful. It was something different. It was a different sort of, we came at a different angle. For the first time, you're like, oh shit, man. I'm like going on Twitter and I'm walking around with my head down. I feel like vilified. I feel like, and I don't know if there's any training for that. And I think people, some stronger people maybe, but people, I don't take it to heart. Don't let it rescue you. Like, how do you do that?
I think everybody does take things like that to heart. I mean, I saw somebody, a very well-known comedian, tagged in somebody else. Oh no, it was an actor, quite a well-known actor, tagged in this really famous comedian who's now got this massive show on Netflix at the moment, going, "What's the first episode? Didn't really get it." What?
Yeah, but
why would you feel that you need to voice that and especially tag that person in?
But I mean, I think we both we're talking about. Yeah, but I think, but why go on there? Because you want to be noticed. What do you want more followers from that?
Right. Well,
but my thing, I so disagree with that. But I'm like, and this is the thing I find, like now, I'm fortunate. I'm busy, and I'm fortunate, but I work fucking hard at what I do. But I find people can sometimes get on me about that, and I'm like, I'm not on social media to read people's tweets. I'm not on there to slang other people's work off. I'm not on Facebook on groups talking about how shit I think a show is.
No,
I'm not. Watching Instagram making Instagram stories about being. I try and convey positive, but also treat this like a job and treat it with respect. You need to treat it.
But that's what you need to treat. That's what certainly I try and treat social media. When I went back on, it was purely because we were starting the podcast, and between myself and the podcast, we can try and build. So I'm using it as a business tool. But
also, what you're doing really well is the positivity that you're now, because the success of this podcast and the people you've had on it. What's lovely about what you're doing now is yourself, the podcast, is you're pushing stuff to go, oh, right, you might have liked this thing, but there's this thing here. So positively, you're creating conversation and you're making sure that people might have gone, oh, right, yeah. So, for example, Jodie Comer's probably the biggest star, and she's incredible. Killing Eve's one of the best things I've seen for so long. Yeah. But what you're doing is you're going, all right, well, she's done this, but also, have you seen Derry Girls? Have you seen Staff? Have you doing? So you're starting conversation, and that's the thing that we should be doing. And if you don't like someone's work, just don't talk about it.
Don't
talk about
it. Talk about it at home, or talk about it down the pub.
Yeah,
but things like that. And look, I'm not saying that we're solving things, but we've got to just kind of try. And there's enough negativity out there every day in the papers all the time. Why do you want to add to it? Yeah. But where's that motive in you to add to that?
And it's like, where are you in your life where your sole purpose is coming out online and going, I'm going to tell this person what I think about them.
In a really sad place, I would imagine.
Yeah. And it is, but it's a sad state of affairs where you know, but then weirdly, you know, I have people that I grew up with, and people that when I go back home and I go into a pub and someone will go, "Yeah, I saw you on that thing. I didn't think you were very good on that." And you're like, "Oh, mate, cheers. Oh, yeah, well, you know, it's not for you. Yeah, I thought you were all right on that other thing you did, but that thing was just terrible." You're like, "You know what, mate? Fuck off."
Always the other one. Someone says something and the other person goes, "Didn't see it." Didn't watch it. Don't watch telly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine. I'm not asking.
No, but it's also they put it at your doorstep that it's your fault. No, when I saw you on TV, I just threw it out the window. Fucking 50-inch screen, I just smashed. I threw it into a fucking alley.
Give a fuck.
Threw it on a cat.
Can we go back to like that first stand-up?
Yeah.
Because loads of people will know you as characters.
Yeah.
Really. Certainly from Murder In Successville will know you as that, even though the character was broken so many times during the filming, which I think those chinks in armour, people fucking love.
I think that was the accessibility of it, I think, of the show. But yes, so stand-up was...
How did you go about writing that? Did you think, I'm going to be a character, or I'm going to be myself?
No, I thought I'll be myself and I'll do voices. And I thought, you know what, it's... So I did it, the first gig I did was in Camden, above a pub, and
did it go well?
It went all right. I mean, it was a weird thing. I had a few mates in the audience. I think my first probably 8 gigs were pretty all right. They were okay. They were pretty base when I look back at them now.
How long was the set?
5 to 10 minutes. Right. So I don't think it was. But then I look at it now and I think like, I was, I do 10 minutes almost on like being tall, and it was. But then nothing that was groundbreaking and nothing that I'd go, I was really proud of that bit. And then.
Did you feel confident that first time?
No, I mean, like, even now, nerves rattle through me. Like, with because weirdly, so stand-up, so when I started stand-up, it was starting with a lot of the guys that are really known for it now, and they're incredible for it, but I had no expectations of ever being an actor. It was never something in my head going, I didn't come into this as a career. Like, that's the other thing about it. Like, I just thought if I can just have it, it's just enough. If I can every other week or every week just go on stage and actually talk about life, and hear people laughing about that, even if I'm still scaffolding, which I did for a long time, and that was the difference of, I think, when I was seeing a lot of the other people, like, I'd be up at 4 or 5 in the morning to then get to a site, and but I was like, so I thought, look, this is just enough to break the normality of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I didn't come into it thinking, oh, right, well, I'll get this, and it'll be it'll keep on growing. That happened organically. I think that was like, I was fortunate that I look a certain way. There's always going to be like a big clown needed insane. But at first, so I think like if I'm brutally honest with myself, I think like the first, I got by on a decent 5-10 minutes doing stuff, and then when it went up to 20 minutes, I got found out a couple of times. And then realised that you've got to really graft, you've got to really work hard. So then went back and...
When you say, sorry to interrupt, when you say you got found out, did you mean like from like a heckler or something? Because I know you deal with hecklers very well.
Yeah. But that was the thing. If I dealt with them really, I can go toe to toe. Because again, that's a part of my youth is like Jesus. Like I remember going first work on a building site. And this guy just coming up to me and going, and I was 15, 16, and this guy came up to me, he was about 5'6", and he just bowled up to me, and he was like 35, and he went, I know exactly how I'd fucking knock you out.
What?
Sorry? Oh, right, yeah. Oh, nice one. Yeah, right. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I'd fucking just boot the back of your legs away and then it'd just smack you straight in the face. And you're like, oh, cool, yeah. Do you need tartan paint or any of that banter? Because this feels a little bit fucking on top. And then, like, me turning around and saying, like, a song was played on the radio and me going, oh, I really like this song. And he just pushed the radio over and smashed it. And it was just like, he had it in for me. So, and my dad saying to me, look, you're a lump, you're a big boy. So you're not a particularly aggressive kind of guy. So you're going to have to be quick-witted.
Yeah.
Otherwise, every day of your life is going to be an absolute fucking pile of shit.
Yeah.
People are just going to go in on you. So then you start to go, right, well, okay, I'm just going to have a laugh. And you know what? If I can make other people laugh at him or at me, in this situation, if I can be, if I can make myself the lowest common denominator by self, deprecation,
exactly.
But also if I can hit him a couple of times with little zingers, all of a sudden people are laughing and he won't it's true. That having that sort of banter got me through. So when you start stand up and people are heckling, you're like, mate, you know. And also the first gigs as well, I should add that I did gigs that were in working men's clubs. I did those gigs for like football dues, rugby dues, like Christmas builders dues. There were quite a lot of them early on, which were just sort of like, you know, chatting to people, few jokes, few stories about being on a building site. And they were like really raucous affairs. So I sort of thought that would be what stand-up was. And there's more to it. There's like, you know, you go and watch someone like Stuart Lee, and you're like, fucking hell, Jesus Christ, there's so many levels this is working on.
Or Daniel Kitson.
Yeah. You're like, I remember gigging with Kitson at the Hob and just being like, oh my God, you're a show anyone, I'll spin my head. Kitson like, who the fuck's this guy? We get it, mate. So you're right, you go, all right. And yeah, you'd get hecklers, and I sometimes went into gigs thinking, if I get a heckler and I can own them for 5-10 minutes, I haven't got to write nothing. That's my job done for me, right? But yeah,
did you sometimes wish for that?
Yeah, man, like big time. But then, so by getting found out, and I remember I was living with Neil at the time, and Neil would come to quite a few of my gigs, and he was like, they're so sporadic. They'd either be brilliant, like genuinely, like fucking wow, or they'd be like absolutely like you'd see Neil creeping out the back of the room. He'd go to another pub to meet me after. I can't be seen with you after that. Friendship.
But that scaffolder who was doing that, and then you do. He's the school bully. He's the old school bully. So then what do we do for the school bully? Can't really knock him out because I'm not really equipped for that. So I'm going to try and make everybody else laugh.
And also, it's like you sort of realise that he's just making up for so much that, like, and it's an interesting thing. And I guess is what we're going back to, sort of like that social media stuff. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, what gives you a good feeling? And you realise that he's coming out of his day that he's in a broken marriage.
What happened to you?
Yeah.
What happened in your past? What's going on right now?
And then you can carry that with you. You can carry that angst. You can carry that feeling of dislike about someone who's had that. And actually, you know what? That's the making of you, because it's a school of hard knocks thing, I guess, in a sense. But I remember I was really bad at a lot of sport growing up, right? And I remember my dad like coaching a football team, and I'd be put in and we'd get smashed and all that. We'd get absolutely annihilated, or boxing and get him like weighed in by a kid 4 years younger than me who had a bit of technique. And my dad was like that, but the metal that makes you is losing. You're going to learn nothing from winning.
No.
Nothing at all. You'll learn to be arrogant, and you'll learn to think it comes easy. Losing is, and that is everything I've learned in this industry. Is pilots haven't got commissioned, shows that haven't really nailed it. That little nearly moment where you're like, oh fuck, I'm going to be a lead in Game of Thrones. Oh no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Someone else is coming. All those moments are the things that have made me a stronger human being to get where you are. So
failure is absolutely key.
Oh yeah.
But I think to everything in life, not just in what you do.
Yeah.
Everyday life failure.
How you deal with it is the thing, you know.
Absolutely. Some of the best things I've done is because I've failed and I've gone, right, you can only go down so low, even though this is never about me. But no, you know, you go down so low and you go, I've really messed up here and I don't know what to do. So I've got to build. You've got to build from that.
But then I remember like drinking with you guys and yourself and talking about it, because I had no idea of what. Like, I was very fortunate. I came in, so stand up was going well. Like, started going well. I started working hard on it, but then I got picked up to do little sketches here and there, and then Morgana show came along.
Yeah.
And that was like the sort of changer. But then after Morgana show, it was like I sort of had that weird thing of, number one, I was a shit kicker who had gone from this life into TV, and I was on a Channel 4 show that was going out at 9 o'clock at night.
Were you made to feel that, or was that just the sort of baggage that you were carrying around?
I was carrying it around, yeah. But also I thought, like, also I had like keys. Like, all of a sudden I was going to the fucking Go Out show, and I'd be, you know, and I sort of like never dreamt you'd be going to this, you know. And that's when for me Soho was like Soho, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'd never even been to Soho. Like, I've been to Leicester Square, I've been to the Wetherspoons and that. No, but like my mates, if I went, so going to Soho, like, fucking hell, you're joking, and you're not going round here. You know what I mean? Like, sort of even coming, getting out of Croydon was a fucking push. So all of a sudden and you're like, wow, this is what life's going to be like. So I did sort of 3 jobs back to back, and I thought, oh wow, this acting like's all right. And I then sort of knew yourself, Neil, and Neil was like, Neil Maskell would probably be in so many areas of my life one of the biggest inspirations I've had, but also someone who taught me actually like about comedy, about how to handle yourself in this industry. He's one of the biggest, he's just an incredible guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And his knowledge.
Yeah, mate, like, you know what? When I first lived with Neil, I've talked about this before, I was like, all I'd ever watched was like blockbusters. No idea of any other cinema. I'd seen like Goodfellas and stuff, and then sit with Neil and watch Deer Hunter, and Dog Day Afternoon, and
come and watch some Cassavetes.
Yeah, no,
come and sit down.
It'd be like that. It'd be like, right, let's get yourself in here. Let's give you. And you know what? A lot of that came Murder. There's a lot of that in Sleet and Murder. As silly as it sounds, of darkness and so all of a sudden I sort of thought, this is fucking easy, this game. And then I went through like a year where I couldn't buy a job. And I remember talking to you about it, talking fucking hell. Every audition I went to, oh man, it was just like, I could either get really close.
Yeah.
And when someone would go, he's not quite ready yet. And I probably wasn't, looking back. Or I'm awful in auditions. I'm terrible. I don't know what you're like. I'm awful. I hate them.
What? It's that constant thing again of, right, got to go in and be judged again. And I feel... I sort of tend to feel quite embarrassed at times.
Yeah. But I'd never even had a job interview. My job interviews was walking up and going into a pub on a Friday and going, anyone got any work Monday? I fucking wish acting was like that. You got anything going around, Bob?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
We need to change
it. Any drama starting Monday? Anything going about? Who was what? Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. We need two blokes. One's a little bit raucous.
You in the back.
On the waterfront turnout. Going down to the seafront. Well, okay, yeah, all right. Woman from a broken home. Anyone can do that? So I had no idea of how to learn like Neil taught me all this and learn lines and sort of how to break down a character and how to do an audition. Neil taught me everything like for that. He sat me down and he'd go through stuff and he'd help me out with auditions. But man, yeah, I did the worst. I did an audition. Do you remember there was a film that it was all about Jesus when he died and he came back, all that stuff, and there was a part of John the Baptist in that, and it was the first drama audition I'd ever had.
Right.
I still haven't done a drama, so that's very and I went along to it, and I'd really thought, I'm going to go in quite hard with this thing, and I'm going to be as solemn as I can possibly be. And the part of it was like I'm not sure how historically accurate it was, but John the Baptist had written the Lord's Prayer, and they were all sitting around a campfire.
Right.
And the film got made. Joseph Fiennes in it. I've never watched it. And anyway, John the Butcher's basically for the first time.
John the Butcher.
Yeah, John the Butcher.
That's where you went wrong.
Yeah, John the Baptist. John the Butcher's from King Gary. I'm writing at the moment. We had to.
Yeah.
So he basically, for the first time, he reads out the Lord's Prayer. Like, he's like, guys, I've got this thing. And I can't remember the script exactly. But anyway, so I started reading it out. But I did it nervously because that's what I wanted from the character. I was reading it off a bit of paper in his hand. And he's like, oh, yeah, our Father, out there in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And the director went, hey, sorry, have you forgotten the words? Have you forgotten the lines? So I went, no, I'm doing it like he's reading it off a bit of paper that he's got, because obviously he doesn't know it off by heart. And he was like, all right, okay. You seem kind of nervous. Are you okay? I was like, no, he's nervous. It's a bit...
That's not me.
Yeah, it's a character.
Let's just get that clear.
I feel it's a bit like, the first time Elton John ever played your song, and he sat there and goes, I don't know if this is any good. I'm just go with me. It gets better. So I've done it, and the director starts laughing because I did that. I went, I just think it's like first time Elton John or first time.
Did you say that?
Yeah, I was first time Bruce Springsteen's ever gone. Look, this is a song. It's about born in the USA. I don't know if it's a little bit nationalist. No, just bear with me because it's actually it's against all that. And he just started really laughing. And then everyone, for the rest of it, I had to do another scene where I was talking to Jesus, and it was just, but throughout it, people laughed, and I was just really po-faced. And it's and then I came out of it, and this massive sort of Swedish handsome guy went, "Is this a comedy?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's
got big laughs.
It's like I'd prepared so much to be so solemn, and just I find them agonising. I find them such hard work. That is why I write stuff now. It's why I
was going to say, was there a turning point where you went, I've just got to start creating my own work here?
Yeah,
because...
but I did that from Morgana Show, and from then we did a thing called The Warm-Up Guy. I always thought, and also, you know what, there's a deeper thing in that. I realised really quickly that the parts I'd be getting offered would often be... I remember getting offered a thing really early on in my career and going in to meet someone, and I won't name any names, and then they were like, this guy, you know, this character, he's like a builder, he's a bit of a racist, he's a bit of a dick, you know, like builders are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean like builders are? And he's like, well, you know, like, you know, typical. I was like, what's your typical builder? That's like a really, you know, that's pretty, you know, you're just basically sweeping a whole load of people under carpet and going, what, they're all that thing. And that's nearly all my family.
Yeah.
And you're just making a sweeping generalisation. So it was like either that or the idiot best friend or the, do you know what I mean? And you sort of sat there and thought, oh, is that all it's going to be? I'm not going to ever have an opportunity probably to be a leading man in something unless I write it myself. And unless I try and make it, and also make it different enough.
Because we've got to remember, you're 6'7".
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a big, strong geezer.
I gave up with James Bond a lot.
But people are going to put you into a certain category, aren't they?
Of course. But and that happens across the field, right? I'm a believer that, and when
Absolutely.
we talk about auditions, I'm a believer that most of the part-time I go for an audition, they know who what I look like, who I am, and what I'm going to bring to the role. Now I'm at a level, as you are, that they've got a vague idea. It's going to take a hell of a thing for me to go in and sweep them away with something to the point where they go, oh, actually, we didn't think he'd be. And they've probably made their mind up, I think. And also, I find, because I now write stuff, I make stuff, it's very hard now to sit there when people come in and do auditions. Now, they're really difficult, because you know what some people go through.
What, when you're on the other side of the table?
Yeah, I hate them. I don't want to sit in them. I find them really awkward.
Do you not then?
I try. Do you know what? At first I didn't, and now I do more, because I think that you try to show people the respect that they've come in and that you want to have that conversation with them.
And also, you know what it's like.
Yeah, and you try and put them at rest, because I don't know about you, I've had awful times with some of the casting directors that aren't, you know, incredible, where you sit there and they're on their phone and they're coming, and also when you're doing an audition, you want someone to be coming back at you with something that feels like, oh, right, okay, that's how it's going to be, and it's almost going to create the feeling of the piece. Whereas if it's someone who's done 15 auditions before you,
and they're just going, and it's just like, it's Charlie Brown, isn't it? It's the school teacher from Charlie Brown. It's not even words, it's nothing.
It's like, so that you walk out of there thinking, oh, I'm not going to get that, because you replicate tone, you replicate how everyone works, you know.
It's all about listening and reacting.
Yeah.
And this is nothing, because it's all one-sided. And then you're doing quote-unquote, you're acting, and you look like a fucking idiot.
And if you're doing a boring, monotone character, and you're not, and the person opposite you is meant to be really dynamic and crazy, and then you're going, but the person reading their lines, you're like, fucking hell, you know.
And also, you take on their energy. It's like when I'm doing this, if I'm talking to somebody and we're talking about something nice and intimate, and I'm like this, and I take on their... But if we're enjoying ourselves, and it's all... So it's like that.
It's a bizarre thing. I try to sit in on them, I think, but they're necessary, I guess.
So when did you make a conscious effort and went, do you know what, were you still doing stand-up and still doing auditions, and then you went, I need to sort of create my own work?
But like, I did a thing with, weirdly, this Michael Jackson special with Keith Lew, like Avid Million. And I played John Landis in it, and someone at Channel 4 were like, who's this guy? And then I went and met Shane Allen at Channel 4, and he was like, I'd chatted to him, and he saw some stand-up I did, and I was different enough that he was like, let's try it. And I'd done a bit of warm-up, so I had this idea about a warm-up guy, and how close you are to the action of, like, I'd done warm-up for like Graham Norton, I'd done warm-up for a number of shows, and I remember like halfway through a joke being cut off. And like, you're just literally as a fluffer, right? You're just there, and also you go, oh, I'm going to try this bit of material. Oh, no material. You know, just go and ask Anne from Sheffield how she feels. And
how was the bus ride?
It's like so primitive. It's like, you know, it's like a plane exits there and there, and you're like, fucking hell, it's soul destroying.
Did you find it soul destroying?
Do you know what?
Not to slag a job off, because that was something leading you up the ladder, wasn't it?
Well, it's a weird thing. I think there's people out there who are just incredible at it, and I actually learned some of the most important lessons I've learned in comedy doing it, because all of a sudden, again, like I was saying earlier, you're not playing out to like a cool, edgy crowd. like who want to see sort of like you talk, ripping apart some part. You're playing to quite a middle of the road crowd.
The very specific crowd. They've come here. They've got their tickets. They want to see who's on Graham Norton.
Yeah, and if you're funny and if you can do the sort of like you can do the okey-cokey well enough. They'll no, but you go, actually, I'm going to need a whole new routine here. I'm going to need a load of jokes that aren't effing and jeffing. I'm going to do something different. So actually, weirdly, it sets you up. But yeah, so I'd sort of thought it's and I sort of went out for a few drinks with quite a well-known warm-up guy, and I was like, his life was constantly on the peripheral of this could have happened. He could have been Peter Kay. Peter Kay was a warm-up. He could have done what O'Leary was.
Yeah.
You're just always... And he'd been there for years doing this. He's sort of just been on the precipice of something massive. And I just found that really interesting. So
such sadness.
Yeah. And I love...
what-if stuff.
But I love that side of comedy. I love empathy. I love that sort of side of, like, someone who's broken and just trying to hang... that's what Murder In Successville was. Like, that was what Sleet always was. It was a guy who was just holding it together enough... in both the show, but also his life, just enough to get you through the half hour.
At the beginning we were talking about empathy and comedy, and I think if you can't show that, then how do you let the audience in? I mean, you were talking about the Curb Your Enthusiasm before, and we go, well, people think he's quite a likeable character. And I remember one thing where Larry David was he was trying to park, and there was one person parked over the line, so therefore it's like, we've all been there. We can appreciate that.
Yeah. You've got to give someone... And also it's an important thing to say, because we're sort of like, I'll have people now say to me, and like, oh, I'm really funny, I want to get into writing scripts, I'm really this, all my mates say I'm the funniest guy around. I don't think I was the funniest out of my group of mates. As people are, what I was is I looked at all my frailties, and I think every great comedy performer that you can probably list that you really rate, most of the time they wouldn't say they're the best at something. And actually, that's as actors in general. I think that's the best people I rate would look inside themselves and they'd find the frailties of something. And I think I know 2 or 3 people who go, almost slag off a lot of the people doing better than them. Number one, don't slag them off. Just concentrate on your race, mate. Yeah. Concentrate on your track, what's in front of you. Don't worry about everyone else, because if you start doing that, mate, you're just going to kill yourself.
Well, it's that thing, even as actors, sorry to cut you off, it's like people look at somebody else's career and you go, well, what are you doing that? Oh, that good for them.
Yeah.
But that's, as you say, that's not your race.
No.
Look at
you could come out of the left. Someone who I find inspiring, I find incredible. I love Davy Johns, right? Davy Johns is an amazing stand-up, right? Davy Johns
has been for years.
Years and years. And also, may I say, one of the most supportive guys when you're coming onto the circuit. Davy always made time, gave you a lovely man. Davy Johns now is a film actor. He's a film actor of note. He's an incredible film actor.
Incredible.
Right? Davy Johns wasn't walking around bitching everyone off. Davy Johns stuck to his... And now you look at him, you think, fucking good to you, good for you, mate. Salute to you for that. And that's the problem. But my point is, you see all the best performers. If you're asked to do something where you've got to find a little bit in yourself to sort of portray it. If you can't look inside yourself and find those frailties or find the worst side of you, if you think you're amazing, you're never going to be an incredible actor.
No.
Go and be on the X Factor, tell everyone how great you are,
or go on social media and tell everybody how great you are.
And I've lost sort of a friendship recently on the basis of someone who you just think the reason you can't be the thing that you want to be is because you're not prepared to look stupid. You're not prepared to look disgusting. You're not prepared to go that extra mile to break down yourself to be that thing. And I think it's a thing that I get now, and I get so much on social media is like, I'm the funniest guy, and you think you're not. Like anyone, like I say, like if you sat with Romesh, who I think is probably one of the funniest people I know, I should never tell you that he's the funniest guy in the world.
No, but I see him all the time on social media supporting other acts.
He's incredible.
This is one of the funniest shows I've seen. Get your tickets to go and see him.
But it's also
that doesn't cost anything.
But you look inside yourself to go like, and I just think that's my. I think my bugbear with it is that. So I suppose it's those people sort of who yeah, I suppose it's that slagging off, isn't it? It's people. I think it was just I was literally having a conversation this morning about this, and I can't name the person because it would be fucking. I'll tell you after.
It's like, tell me after.
Yeah, but it would, yeah. I mean, I'd like to throw him under a bus. But,
there's many people, but if I did that, I wouldn't have a podcast. Well, I might. It might be highly successful. Let's try it, Tom.
Really bitching people.
But do you
off.
find that? Do you find that comedy? I hate to use quote unquote comedy world. Do you find it's supportive?
You know what?
Because I've worked off and on. Because I've worked with loads of stand-up comedians over the years, and I've found them, apart from 2 or 3, I've found them to be the nicest, warmest, humbling,
I'd agree.
shy.
I think that, especially the generation that I came from, the group that I come from. Yeah, like I think everyone, last year when we won the BAFTA, everyone that I'd sort of gigged with, most of them would text or whatever, DM. I think people. I think we all want to see people do well.
Yeah.
There's enough channels. There's enough ways that we. Yeah,
there's enough out there for everybody.
And I think as well, you want to work with great people, right? I think you want to.
Well, that's how you get better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, failure, one, and also working with people that you think are better than you, so then you can learn off them.
Right, and I mean, you mentioned Cariad, right? I've known Cariad. I did Cariad's pilot years ago. But Cariad coming on Murder In Successville made me so much better to learn from Cariad. Because, mate, I tell you, there's actresses out in this country who couldn't even lace up Cariad Lloyd's boots.
She's incredible.
She's incredible. She's amazing. So funny, but so quick. So but me, I mean, a nightmare for the director because me and Cariad were in a scene together. It went on for literally sometimes 2.5 hours.
Did you have to? Who was directing that?
James DeFront, who does all my stuff. James.
I know James. Did James have to go? We've got to stop. No, it's been going on for too long.
No, it was always up to me to end the scene. Always me to go. But that's because also there was amazing and understanding on that to go. I knew if we had the moment, the pigeon in the pigeon in the bed, that took 2.5 hours to get to that point where we go, oh fuck, now we've got that thing, and that happens after you learn slowly. But there'd be scenes like me. I remember Cariad will tell you there was 2 scenes with Cariad where we just it was like knocking your head against a brick wall. You're like, fuck, this isn't going anywhere. Like me and her are like just trying to get everything out of that person, and it's just not coming. But so sometimes you just keep on going, and we never called cut on that show because it would always just be right as soon as we walk out of the scene and we walk to the next bit of the scene.
Because it was all improvised, right?
Yeah.
Did you have your sort of A to B points about where you needed to go?
It was improvised enough that we knew what the beats were, and there were some lines that you cherry picked, but you could never script it just on a basis that you never knew what was coming. Deborah Meadham would be completely different than you knew.
Which was a brilliant episode.
And Martin Kemp was completely, people were different than so it couldn't be scripted. You had to think on your feet.
You never rehearsed with the other actors in it before?
We'd run through beats, so we'd run through different scenarios, but it always go different. The bit, the scene I remember, Mike, was Deborah Meadham and Cariad when Cariad was Sean Cole and Sheila Tweedy, whatever she's called now, and Deborah was just like interrogating Cariad for real. Like, genuinely, where were you at this time? Went on for so long, and I was just like, oh, yeah, well, anyway, I slipped over some dog poo earlier. Just shut up, you idiot. Like, right, how well do you know this man who's been killed? It was a real, and it was like fucking line of duty shit. All right, Deborah, take a chill pill. And Cariad just thought on her feet, and it was just, she's remarkable, man.
Yeah.
She's a real talent.
Did you feel a need to change after the success of Murder In Successville? You say, right, I'm going to put that to bed now, I want to do something different. I
mean, I think I can say now, and I think it's the first time I've ever said it anywhere, is that it's sort of done really now. Like, I think that BAFTA was like, we'd done 3 years of it. It was like the most amazing journey. It was the most amazing thing to have been a part of, something that was so different, and I literally had my whole career rests upon it. But
it really was. There was nothing like it, was there?
Yeah, and it was, it's people have sold it to America now, and so they can do their thing. But for me, anyway, I just thought, you know what, that last series had 3 amazing, incredible moments, like episodes, and two that were brilliant, but that weren't maybe as good as could have been, and people knew kind of, you don't want to be doing 4 and 5 and it starts to creak and you start not loving it.
Yeah.
Or
regurgitating the old stuff.
Yeah.
The same stuff.
Every year people go, oh, you're going to do the Jamie Lang thing again when you're in his ear and you're making up stuff. And we never did it again. And so, and then, I guess everyone says that. I really didn't expect to win the BAFTA. I didn't think it would be us in a million years. I thought it was too weird, and I thought, we probably missed our opportunity to. It was our first nomination, but so it was like, I thought after that, we could do another one, but will it be as good?
Yeah,
to have made 18 episodes or something to a level that I'm proud of, and to have won every series, we won awards for it. And that's enough. I have to move on. And also, as an actor, I can only be taken so seriously as to a certain level as being, as much as that character's not me, as much as it's a character, and as much as it's a well thought out world, and I'm thinking on my feet and improvising, I don't think it necessarily was respected, and probably rightly so in certain circles, as being like that's. So as an actor, I have to hit now scripted, because after that you'd think, oh right, well this show's doing really well, I'm going to be getting like things falling on my lap in scripts. It's a comedy show that's working, and that didn't really happen. I think people just thought I was opposed to I was the improvising guy. I couldn't do scripted stuff, and scripted stuff is I've done enough of to know how it works. And so the next step was action team, but also King Gary, which has been buzzing along for quite a long time, and just making that right and getting that right, because that's the one thing out of everything that I'll ever do that is the most important for me, because it's my life. It is, and that's when it came out and people were like, "Oh, these feel like cartoon characters," or "This feels like this." I was, and it was to be, this is where I'm taking it personally, because it was, really reviewed well and it went down well, but I was like, these aren't cartoon characters. Come and have a fucking drink with my dad. Like, I come down the pub with my mate Rudgley, and they're not cartoon characters. These are real people, mate. So that's the thing. And I think you've got to test yourself, right? You can't. That's why I'd like to do drama. I'd like to do stuff where you could push yourself. I was fortunate. I worked with Bob Hoskins early in my career. First film that I ever did.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was that?
It's a thing called The Final Furlong or something.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I did like a week with him, and he was. I learned enough in that week about like your choices you make and the things you do, and like how incredible he was. Like, and like, it's a weird thing actually, because it's hard, because I listened to this show, so I listened to when Jodie was talking about it. But I remember sitting on the table with Bob Hoskins telling us anecdotes about. Films that he'd been on, and they were incredible. And then I just looked around, and all the cast were just making notes, like signing into Facebook, not listening, going, just sat on a table with Bob Hoskins, Bob, and trying to like Twitter selfie, Bob's like, what the fucking hell's going on? But those choices you make and how you push yourself to do different stuff, that's important. Like you, man, like. Comedy, you turn your hat to comedy, drama. You want to try and do as much, and it keeps this game interesting, right? Theatre. Let me throw my dick in that.
We're back in the casting session at the pub. But do you feel now, or maybe no? Let's go back after you sort of won the BAFTA and you were riding high, and it's really nice, successful. Was there still part of Tom that you felt that you were still sort of, do you still think I'm a bit of a shit kicker? You don't really respect this show as well as you did, even though you're giving me these awards. Do you think there's still that slight imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't question myself all the time, because I think I have to. I think all of us do. I think if I...
Well, I don't think it's healthy if we don't.
No, and do you know what? This is a bizarre thing. When we won, like the Rio Ferdinand won for the documentary he did about his late wife, which was incredible. And the first person I saw after I won was Rio, and I started chatting to him, and I'm a big West Ham fan, a big football fan, and he said, "Enjoy that, but enjoy it for a little time." and then put it up somewhere. And that's what you do as footballers. Ferguson always said as a footballer, like to his footballers, you know, enjoy the Champions League, but we're going to go again next year. And I think that's the thing. It's like put that there, and that's there, and that's great, and that'll always be there. But I have to keep questioning myself, and also like you know, I look at no one, as you said earlier, everyone will know me as a character actor and an actor, not as a stand-up. That gripes me, if I'm honest. I'd like to have a punt at being a stand-up. I'd like to push myself back into that world.
Do you think you would go back and try it?
I've gone back. I did the Comedy Store the other week, and I've done a couple of bits and bobs, and yeah, because
it's so funny, because I was thinking about you the other day, and when I was watching all sorts of comedies, you popping in my head, as I said at the beginning, because loads of people will go, do you remember when you were doing the Kardashian sketches with Leigh Francis? People go, who's that geezer? Who's that fella? And people won't know that you were grafting, doing all that stand-up for a long time.
I think people think I'm an actor, and that's not the case. And so stand-up was... And like I say, I have questions about myself, like, okay, right, let's just do a scripted comedy, King Gary or whatever that may be. I need to push myself into that and prove to people I could do that. I need to prove to myself that I can. And I think that's the thing that if you'd ever told me that I'd have won a BAFTA, like, you know, even a month before it happened, I'd have, that's amazing. But I think I never thought that I'd ever be an actor as a living. I never thought any of this would happen. So I have to keep pushing myself, because there was a time in my life that just doing one gig a week was enough.
Yeah.
And then that grew, and every part of it grew. So I think, you know, I have to constantly push myself to do that, and that's why I started a production. Like, I wanted to start a production company. I wanted number one, I wanted to give a place. I got really stung a couple of times as a writer.
In what way?
Not being paid for scripts or treatments. Right. And that shouldn't happen. I think it's the worst. It's the lowest of the low that still happens in our industry when writers and creators aren't treated well, and then you hear about an executive producer getting a downstairs swimming pool in his ass. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing for this industry? We all know this industry is not what it was. We all know that we should, creators should be getting their due diligence, and they're the people, they're the voices that we're going to listen to. They're the things we're going to watch. So, and then you hear about a geezer who's just doing this. So anyway, my thing was, right, let's set up somewhere where hopefully we can get the voices that aren't being heard, and we can get new up and coming people, but we can also pay them fairly. We've got a budget that we can go, right, we'll go away and write that. And I think that's important. And that was the thing for me, is like, I'm sort of, so to speak, through the gates now.
Yeah.
But I have to make sure that other people who wouldn't necessarily be heard, or who might not be the norm, who might not have been at Footlights, who might not have got all of this stuff behind them, who just might be a guy or a girl who's just got a story, because we all have. And I think that's the thing that's important to me now, is forcing that through.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, about the quality of amazing comedy that's coming through at the moment. I mean, of course, Partridge has been there, he's got a legacy. Yeah. But then you look at someone like Charlie and Daisy May Cooper, who struggled for ages to try and get their voices heard, and all of a sudden...
People just do nothing, man.
Another prime example.
I'm working with those guys. We're doing a thing at the moment, we're working together, which is do you know what that's like? You sit in a room and it's a few of us together working on a thing and writing, and none of us have got a background in this. None of us have got any right. But then you think, well, we've got the awards, we've got the accolades, but that's a proof that don't get me wrong, because there's a talent behind it and there's hard work behind it. But if you want something enough, and you think, we have a problem. I'm not saying this is the thing that solves it, but we have a problem with people giving up on themselves, kids giving up on themselves at 13, 14. From working class environments, and they've given up because people have given up on them.
Yeah.
And there's not the back in there to go, actually, you know what, you could do this. I think, if I'm speaking honestly, I think teachers and the world probably gave up on me when I was 12 or 13, because I wasn't academic. I was dyslexic. I didn't pay attention in class. I was, all those things that I wasn't good at school, weirdly now are what my job is now. But I was never told that this was an avenue that I could walk down. And I think that's the thing that's important. It's like, I've worked with into film quite a lot, and you see kids who are, you know, in that same predicament, and you know, and what else are you going to do? Like if you're in a class and there's people clever in you, you're going to rebel, and that's why we start having a problem. I'm not saying this is a thing that solves it, but we can't give up on our youth, and that's through sport, that's through, you know, being creative, working in the industries that we do. We have to try and make that accessible, and I think that. You know, I certainly think I've got a due diligence, and most of us have to try and portray that.
Especially when there's less creative avenues and they're being taken away from inner city schools all the time.
Also, it's like, I want, you know, as a kid, I wanted to be Blackout. I wanted to be, you know, I watched these shows and Del Boy and all that, you know. I had aspirations that if I was going to do something, or stand up, you know, Chappelle, like that.
I know, I mean, it is the support of the youngsters. I mean, I had a young lad on Twitter last night. Actually, I was going to bed, so I couldn't reply. I was really tired, and he said, "Oh, I've just done this audition tape. Can I send it to you? Will you have a look at it for me? I understand if you can't." And I went, "You know," he said it was a minute. I went, "Fuck, why? Yeah, of course I'm going to look at it. Why not?" And I looked at it, and it was good. And I gave him a couple of notes, and he's gone back and sorted it.
Oh, sweet! That's
He
lovely.
was only 16.
That's lovely, though, right?
Well, yeah. Why can't you? I mean, we talk about, you know, how unhealthy social media is.
But like, if that's a great side to it.
That's a great side to it. There is so many positives sometimes.
That's the thing. Yeah, and that is. But we need to look at I guess you're never going to get rid of. That's social media. That's what it, you know. And but
that's life. You're never going to get rid of all the shit.
You're older than I'm old enough to remember life. Mate, the world's never going to run out of dickheads. They're always going to find. You know, you're always going to find a way to have a voice. You know, whether it's a geezer on a building site or it's a knobhead in a pub. They're always going to be there. Yeah. You know, and it's Twitter's just giving them a little bit more of a platform. But the truth of the matter is, they've been there since fucking Jesus was knocking about. You know what I mean? you know, if you fucking hell, he's sitting there going, fucking hell, I've got a little 5 or 6 dickheads wrapped around me here.
It's just our job to sort of filter them out.
Yeah. And you know, it's just a little bit harder now because I've got a voice. But they're always going to be there.
Yeah.
And it's how you live your life. How can you portray a positive mindset? How can you look around you and try and keep smiling through? Yeah, and you're right. The world's shit. The world's really hard at the moment, but it's always fucking had its issues. We've always gone through stuff.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you can create something that's escapism, as long as you can make something, I think that people can watch and far forget that, and you can conduct yourself in a way that hopefully, you know, brings a smile. There's a great bit of David Brent. I know David Brent was an idiot. It was one of my favourite things of David Brent was. When he says, "Oh, you know, I want to be in a place where someone else is going to be walking down a road, and they'll see me across the road, and they'll point to whoever they're with and go, 'Oh, there's David Brent. He's all right.'" It's a laugh. It's one of my favourite things because actually, as much as and it's one of the greatest comedy creations of all time. But man, that's what we all want, right? We all want to be liked. That's what, you know. Hopefully,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Tom Davis,
Great
big
podcast.
love. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You enjoy it?
I loved every minute. I just went on some rants.
No, it's good. It was good.
I was like, what am I doing? I'm not even talking about acting.
I loved it. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
It was gorgeous.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bless you.
And another episode is done. What about her? I hope you agree. I know what you're thinking. You're probably going, well, Craig and Tom, they're old mates. They see each other all the time. I hadn't seen Tom for ages. We've been texting and that, you know, trying to get dates for him to come on the podcast. So to spend a full hour with him going through it was an absolute pleasure, and I loved it. So, Tom, if you're listening, thank you so much for coming down. He's officially the only person that's been on the podcast that's taller than me. I hope you enjoy the photos. What else? I've got to say thank you to you. I do, because you're here. And do you know how many podcasts are out there now? No, I don't either, but like there's a lot in there. There's loads. Everybody's doing a podcast. So for you to stick with us week in, week out, spread the word, tell other people, it really means the world to us. You know it does. So thank you for choosing us and sticking with us. Well, that's it. I'm going to finish my walk. I'm going to finish my sandwich, ham, if you must know, with a bit of salad. And I'm going to get back and send this off to producer Griff. So, look, thanks so much for joining us. And next week is episode 83. We're ever closer to the episode 100 mark. Someone give me some ideas. I don't know what to do. What should we do? Should we throw it open to you, the listener? Right. Pick a guest and I'll see if I can get them on. Don't let your imagination run wild to a certain extent. My means of connection with people, they're quite limited, but we'll see. I've got some amazing guests coming up. I'm so excited for you to hear. So look, until next week, have a good week. Do what you need to do to look after yourself, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next week, I've been Craig Parkinson. He's been producer Griff, and this has been the Two Shot Podcast. We'll see you next week. You take care. The Two Shot Podcast is presented by me, Craig Parkinson, recorded and produced by Thomas Griffin for Splicing Block. Our brilliant music is courtesy of Then Thickens. Cheers.